Thomas Ahern. I'm going to make this quick video to provide a little more background on precise selling. I hope it helps in your understanding of our proven process and how we work to enhance your team's game. As you know, there's no real quick fix in sales. It takes practice, drilling and rehearsing. It's a process, and it can be really fun. The key word here is process. What is process? It's a way of doing things that's repeatable, a proven repeatable sales process. Why do we need to sell in a repeatable way? Well, sports teams, they practice repeatedly. Or why do comedians rehearse their jokes up to, say, 10,000 times before getting them just right? Or those actors that repeat their lines hundreds of times before performing. Well, why should we be any different in sales? Because we pick up the phone or when we show up for a meeting, it's showtime. So why not do it in a repeatable way? So then we can evaluate ourselves against that. The term precise actually is an acronym for 7 steps. So I'm going to just run through those with you real quick. P equals preparation. Before we get on a call, we need to be very specific about what's the objective of those calls. In other words, what do we want the prospect to do by the time that call is over or that meeting is over to get us closer to the sale? We want to be intentional about what we want to happen the day before the call so we're prepped. That's what we're talking about. That means we're off to a really good start. R equals respect and trust. So before you start firing off questions and features, we want our teams to be respectful. A simple way of doing this is just simply saying thank you for taking the call. And out of respect for your time, I will make it quick by asking just a few simple questions. Boy, that makes people comfortable and kind of disarms them. And guess what? Typically, because you were respectful and conscientious around their time, you know what they do? They typically answer all your questions and they actually look for ways to be helpful. This leads us to E in precise selling, which means to engage them with questions. The art of questioning is huge. Now, we don't want people to fly by the seat of their pants. We advise you to be intentional about your questions and prepare them in advance, like we had said, through your research and the stuff that you're already doing. At Precise, we always have qualifying questions like, what service or product are you currently using? What other service or product have you looked at? What has been effective, or what would you alter or change, if anything? Who's responsible for making these kinds of decisions? Of course, these aren't the only questions, but you get the idea. The point here is we want our prospects talking and sharing in order to build rapport and trust. We're a relationship-based company. Remember, it's not about us, it's about them. I'll keep a notepad and create bullet points of what's important to them so that when it comes time to move to C, which in precise, which means to convey solutions, I'll focus my presentation only on what's important to them. I'll make a bunch of little presentations within that big presentation to get their head nodding yes, because a bunch of those little yeses will get me to the big yes. The I in precise stands for indecision, because sometimes, as we know, there are objections. And those aren't necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes people just are a little skeptical, or they need a little bit more time. Or maybe they just need some reassurance. In our model, we teach the habit of overcoming indecision or objections by not answering that first objection right off the bat. What we want to do is seek to understand by asking them another question to really isolate the concern, and then we'll answer that question. We think that too many sales reps assume that the prospect is being fully transparent and the first objection is real. Well, we think you need to dig a little deeper to get at a real root concern. S is secure agreement. If I get their heads nodding yes, I will close with something like this. So Martha, based on what we talked about, does it make sense to get a training scheduled? Or maybe, do you believe our solution would be a good fit? Do you think it would help? If they say yes, or something like, I can see how your program can really help our team, then you can see that the prospect is actually closing themselves when they're talking about how it's helpful for them. Then I'll just take them off the sales presentation altogether and say, so Martha, with your permission, what I would like to do is draft a proposal for you to review. Or maybe, based on our conversation today, does it make sense to schedule your training session? I'm looking for that big fat yes. I'm not leaving the conversation dangling out there. That's why we were in the meeting to begin with. Everybody knows that. And closing doesn't make us bad people. It just helps us to understand where the prospect is in the sales funnel. Then E stands for explore. I find the best time to get someone to say yes is when they've already said yes. So 2 things I'll always ask for, and that is, Can I have another referral or someone who's interested in hearing my message, or maybe an upsell or a cross-sell that might lead to another follow-up appointment? The beauty of having a process, it doesn't have to be the precise selling process, although it is time-tested and proven, is that it provides a framework for you to evaluate yourself against the performance against. I mean, former Secretary of Education John Gardner said it really well. Life is an error-making and error-correcting process. Well, if I don't have a process, it's hard for anyone to understand how to improve. And if I don't understand that, how on earth can I correct and improve? We want to have a growth mindset. If you commit to a process, I know your game will improve, Chris, and your team will be unstoppable. We obsess over this stuff in order to help create top performers. I hope this introduction was helpful, and thanks for joining me today. I'll follow up further later on. Have a great day. Thanks again. Bye.